Good morning. With today's daf is daf Hey, and we are continuing to learn. We had this Mishnah where the philosophers were debating Rabbi Gamliel and trying to prove the veracity of these different Avodah Zarahs. If it's true that they're merely Avodah Zarah, why did the Abishah just destroy them? And Rabbi Gamliel explained that the Abishah will have to destroy the entire world. Plus, he gave them free choice. They can choose whichever way they want to go. So we're up to the top of the page here. About 5 lines from the top of the page. Shaul Agrippus Sar Tzavas Rabbi Gamliel. Agrippus, who was a general, asked Rabbi Gamliel. So it seems that Rabbi Gamliel was asked a number of questions. We have Rabbi Yeshua was the one who knew how to deal with all of these theologians. But in this Gemara here, it's Rabbi Gamliel. And we also had in Sanhedrin, the Lama Teste, that's Gamliel. In B'chedus, we'll have it Rabbi Yeshua. Unbelievable more when we get there. So the asked Agrippa Sar Tzor Rav Gamliel, Ksiv b'Torah. It says in your Torah, it says Ki Hashem Elokecha Eish Acha. It says that the Eibusher, we're just starting here. We're continuing the debate between these different philosophers, and Rabbi Gamliel. So Rabbi Agrippus, who's a general, asked Rabbi Gamliel. It says in your Torah, Hashem is a guy, is a fire, and consuming fire. Kale Kana sounds like he's a jealous God. What, he's jealous from the Avodah Zarah? Klum Miskana. It doesn't make sense. Who are you generally jealous of? Chacham b'chacham. A wise person is jealous if there's another wise person, maybe smarter than them. Or gibber ki gibber, the gibber. Someone in your rank. Or usher b'usher. The Abish is jealous of these idols. Well, what does it mean, Kale Kana? Because Kel Kana can mean jealous, and Kana can also be having more say to it. It can mean angry. So, and he's teaching means jealous. What's the Abish jealous about? Gamliel said, we're about 10 lines on the top of the page. So he said to Gamliel responded, let me give you an example. If a man marries a second wife, but the second wife is more eminent, more distinguished than the first wife. Interesting what the Gemara says here, but but the first wife has no problems with that. She understands why you married her because she has more qualities better than the first wife, so she understands what drove you, what motivated you. But if you end up marrying a woman that has far less skills than the first wife, then she gets jealous. What do you mean jealous? She's angry with her husband. What do you do that for? Why? So what are you saying about me? You're saying you don't value me at all. So the same thing over here. David's not angry or jealous with the idols. He's angry with the people that you chose. Someone much more inferior to me, somebody a getchka that has no value over me or with me. So the Abish is angry with them on account of the Avodah Zarah. He's not jealous of the Avodah Zarah. Yeah. Big loud. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, shkaya for that. Amalei Zunin, the Rabbi Kiva. Rasha Zunin was a person, a Yid, whoever he was, said to Rabbi Kiva, Libi, the Libach, Yodea, or Yoda, the Avodah Chum and Les Moshe. We both know Avodah Zarah has no mamoshes. Now, interesting. None of the goyim said to them, I can prove to you that the Avodah Zarah has Moshe. In fact, Agrippus Tzava was sort of also saying that Avodah Zarah is worthless. What's going on here? Dafka the Yid says to him, but the Avodah Zarah has value. We see that these people walk in front of these idols. They go into these churches. They're all broken. The bones are broken. But also when they walk out, they're healthy. You go to these what do you call this? Evangelicals. They pray for you in front of everybody, and then suddenly they heal you in front of everybody. You see that Avodah Zarah works. It's amazing. My time, but why? Amalek Rabbi Kiva said he didn't discount what he said. What he said is, now this is a very important gemara. There was a trustworthy person in town. Sorry, the next one. Everybody trusted him. They all gave him money, deposits, whatever. Didn't bother getting Adim contracts. And there's another person that always used to also, but this one person didn't trust him. So every time he deposited money with this trustworthy person, he would always bring 2 witnesses here. I want you to witness. But Pam Echad, Shachach. Once he forgot. So Amlisha, the wife of this trustworthy person, said, if we would deny it and say that you never gave us, we would be believed because everyone knows that you didn't trust me and you would always give Adim. And now suddenly you gave without Adim, nobody would believe him. But I mean, if Kedenu, let's lie. So this trustworthy person, not trustworthy, but at least his wife wasn't. But he said, look, this guy did made a mistake. Anu never that's what it's saying. We lose our trustworthiness. I'm an honest person. I'm talking honest person. Why would I do that? Is avkach yisudin. Say to him yisudin. Now listen to this Gemara here because it's a powerful Gemara. B'shar shemeshagin oisin alodin. When a person gets sick, the Abisha sends. Who makes a person sick? The Abisha makes a person sick. Even though we learned somewhere else in Ksubis, we had also before Hakav in the beginning of Hakav Shemayim chutz mitzim pachim. That's certain kind of sicknesses, things that you could have prevented, like fever. Machlek is where the cold is, where the cold is well. But fevers you could have prevented. But other sicknesses, the Abish's hands. So the Abish sends it to you. Mashbi'inoisan. Now listen to this. The Abish makes the sickness swear, or the Abish swears the sickness. Shaloi telchu ela b'yom pleni. You're going to remain with this person till this day. V'loi teitzu ela b'yom pleni. You know when you're going to exit this person's body on this and this day. Ubishah pleni, this and this hour. Vayidei pleni, through this and this doctor. Vayidei sam pleni, through this medicine. Even Shigi manala. So you know what happens sometimes? The day that the sickness was supposed to go away, this guy happened by chance to go into the church. So instead of giving credit to the Eibishter, you give credit to the Avodah Zarah. Amru Yisudin, so these Yisudim turn to the Eibishter, hey, maybe we shouldn't leave the body. Maybe so the person can't walk away thinking that it's a place that was the church that helped him out. And then we're told this guy goes to a church. Was saying we made a shua that this is the time you leave. It says the pasuk. It says that the sicknesses that are bad and they're faithful. What is not faithful? What's the shlichus to hurt the person? They're honest. Now, what's so fascinating about this Gemara here is in Siman Shin Lamed Vav in Yeridea is the laws of going to a doctor. So the famous Ramban we talked about one before, that you shouldn't go to a doctor and so on and so forth. So the famous question that Taz asks that and then it said right away, mitzvah if you're sick to go to the doctor. So the Taz says you start off with a shus and then you end up with mitzvah. It's a mitzvah, it's a mitzvah. So some want to say there's a difference between the shus and we're talking about the doctor and the mitzvah of the person to nishmar to and take care of themselves. The Ramban says, and the Taz learns this hapshat in the Ramban, others learn differently, that really it's only the shus. If you're really a maimin, and if you're zoiche, you're a tzaddik, you don't need to go to a doctor. Yosef never went to a doctor while Rabbi was Rosh Hashiva for 22 years. So that's how some learn pshat in Gemara. But if you decide to go to a doctor, it means you're on a lower level. So then for you, it's a mitzvah for the doctor to help out. Anyway, and then they say, and Shulchan says, from the Rishonim, that you have to go to a doctor because a doctor has a mitzvah to perform. You can't say, the other doctors in the city, because not every person is zeicha to become well from those doctors. Maybe it's from you. And they all bring you to Shalmi. No one brings this Gemara right here. The Gemara clearly says here that part of the shvu is va'ayidei pleni. This doctor. No other doctor is going to help. And I always wonder why they don't bring this Gemara here. And by day samplini, that means you can't just rely on the Abish. There's a shvua given that you have to take medicine. It's not just that a person, unless this Gemara is talking about those people who are not zeichet tzaddikim that have to can't just rely on the Abish and they have to go doctor. This is the procedure. This is the process. The Abish says only these medicines and this and that. And that's why the Rebbe a number of times would tell people maybe change the medicine. If things didn't improve, the Rebbe would tell them go change the medicine. But the Gemara says there's a shvua. Interesting that there should be a shvua. Why is there shvua? I don't know. La'ayidei sam pleni. Just wondering why this Gemara is not brought down instead they go to Yerushalmi. Anyway, doesn't want to so Rava Barav Yitzchak said to Rabbi Yehuda, he said to Rabbi Yehuda, Ha'ika base Avodah Chavim Ba'asin is a church in our city. The Mechitz Tadich Alma Lemit, very modern that whoever this Rav Yitzchak is would have this kind of discussion as if he believed in some merit of Avodah Zarah. Look what he says it. Whenever we need rain, Mischazal B'chalma. Suddenly people see in a vision of a cholam of this getchke, va'amalu, and this getchke would say, Shachtuli Gavra, I want you to give me human sacrifices. Va'aisimit, I'll make it rain. Shachtula Gabra, they would, and we know that the Aztecs and others, they have this whole ritual that they would human sacrifices. Va'asimit, I would tackle with rain. No, we see this mamoshes here. Malay, so he said to him, Rabbi Yehuda said to him, Hashta now, if I would have died right now, and you wouldn't have asked me the question, I never would have volunteered this information that I heard from Rab, and no one knows about it. So thank you for asking me the question. Might have seen it says in Pasuk, Asher cholak Hashem alekecha, oisam l'chol ha'amin, the Able distributed amongst all the nations. It says over there you shouldn't worship the sun, the moon, and all of the other things. That able to sort of smooth out in his words, and he said, you know what? You want to worship sun and moon? Go for it. To use up all the schuyas in this world over here, and then they can go to Gehenna. I know it's like I said, David should play around. If you want to be a let's, I'll let you be a let's. Well, I know him. Ball the time, poischenloi. Ball the time, but if somebody wants to tell me, we let you. We don't help you, but we let you open the door. You want to make a sin. All the time, so we actually help you out to be mitayed. Now, interesting. I was telling you yesterday. There's a fascinating Rambam on this mission over here, which the Rambam doesn't bring in the Rambam when he gives all like Dhamma, the Renish and all that. Here he traces the history of Avodah Zarah. Famous machlekes in the Rambam here, the Mukha Yosef and Perek Zayin and Sanhedrin, whether there's any mamoshes to any of these things. Machshefa, stars, astrology. Is there any mamoshes to it? Constellations, you're born on this mazel and that mazel. And the Rambam says the reason why the Torah asked it is because it's such nonsense. How can he follow nonsense? The Mukha says that's the emes, it's Borim, Amitim here, Navas, Tomim Tim, Ashalakecha. So therefore we have an issa not to follow these things. We have to believe in the Eibishter. Big fundamental machlekes. So the Rambam here in this Mishnah here traces the evolution of Avodah Zarah, not so much, but the main thing is his theory. Where does Avodah Zarah come from? So first he goes up 3 layers. First they start believing in individual stars, then they believe in talismans that you have to wear. Then the second generation, the third generation is they believe in constellations. Then he says, where did it all come from? And you see right in the Gemara here, there's mamoshes, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. And so he says the governments wanted to rule over the people, but they had no way of ruling over the people. How do you start a government? Remember the beginning of mankind. So they had to instill fear and superstition in the people, and then tell them that the only way you'll overcome these fears is through certain people who have skills and the knowledge of how to deal with it. So the people automatically became subordinate. So they made up the story about the stars and this and that, but we are the intermediary between the stars and this. And they put it in books. So the people of that generation started to believe it. So they turned to them, be our leaders. We need leaders. We were scared. The next generation, Michal didn't even know that. They already believed it completely. And the next generation, the very people who made it up, started to believe in it. And that's where Avodah Zarah came from. Interesting, the theory. Right here. On this Mishnah, show full of something. Yeah, right on this Mishnah. Very interesting. That's where it all came from. Oh, a whole different story. Yeah, I think it's a whole different story there. There he doesn't bring. I'm not sure why, but this is the Rambam's theory. How it all started. Fascinating. Okay, I told you this ends. Avodah Zarah now starts Yayin Nesach. So very kitzur how it works is they take the grapes and they have this midrash, which is a slope, and they would stand and put the grapes there and step on it and start squeezing it out. Then they would take the grapes, only started squeezing, and they would put it on top of, there's a flat place on top of that, and they would put it there. Just a whole bunch of grapes sitting that already was sort of started being crushed. They continue oozing out. Then they put this heavy beam, which in the Mer Shabbos they had all about. They put a heavy beam on the grapes, and they kept on oozing out. And then it would go down back to the midron, and from the midron it would go into this big vat, and that's called the gas, a wine press. Question is, when does it halachically have a din of wine as far as yain is concerned? Only when it reaches the wine press, or even in this midron, even while it's here, when you start to squeeze, or is it just grape juice? It doesn't become wine until it's in the wine press. Okay, so that's understand that. Now the Mishnah. You're allowed to buy a gas that is already treaded from a goy. We're talking about the midran, which we started pressing it. It's not wine yet, so there's no yayin nesach over here. There's no isar hano over here, and you're allowed to buy. And it's tummy, so what? It's ready tummy. The goy picks up the grapes from there, picks with his hand, puts his hand in there, places it on a tapur. Tapur is a mound that's on top of the hill. Doesn't matter. Because you know why? It's not yet wine, it's juice. You're at leboy, but once they went, that's the vat. Once it went into, or the wine press, once it went into that gas, to the boy, boy is like a sister, that's where it collects all the wine. Also, even in the boy, and the rest coming down. While the Mishnah clearly saying while it's in the midron, it's not wine, it's juice. Okay, then it says, that's number one. Number two, dorchin im ha'oivek, you're allowed to be gas in the wine press itself. You're allowed to help the guy out in pressing. What's the problem here? If it's yain nesach, you're getting paid with money. You're having it's asabana, and you're getting paid with money. Even stam yainam is trila yain nesach. You're getting paid chasabano. So you know why you're allowed to? Because you're allowed to drink it also. Because it's not yain nesach. Actually, some of the shaynim disagree with Rashi, I just told you, and other shaynim agree. You're allowed to drink it. They say when we say here that it's not wine, it's only as far as isur hana, but still drinking, you shouldn't be drinking. But most of the shaynim hold like Rashi, you're allowed to even drink it. It's not wine yet. You're generating tumah. This mission holds you're not allowed to make something in Etzrol tummy if it's holding, not allowed to. It's already tummy. The guy talking about a case where the guy started, not you're doing only. The guy started and you're joining him, so everything is tummy. Right? Tumah is not a problem, and helping someone doing aveda making tummy is not a problem because the guy has no use of making tummy. You're getting hanok, on yet. But what you're not allowed to do is abalite bites anymore. You're not allowed to cut the grapes from the tree. Why not? That's even the stage before. Because when you're cutting the grapes from the tree, you're enabling that eventually will become tummy. And you're now a big goyim. You're a goyim. You didn't make a tummy yet. It won't be tummy yet until it gets all wet, and it's mushal gabul, and then the guy has to tread on it. But since the reason why you're cutting it is in order to tread on it, so no, it will become tummy. You are helping the process of becoming tummy. You're not allowed to be goyim 2 minutes.
What's the other way?
Like what?
Something
You're not going to go. They're allowed to because it won't become tummy. It's only because we know for sure it'll become tummy, and whether it's definitely mukhshir right now or not. Even the Rashi, even it's not mukhshir, but the fact that it will be used is very bad. Then okay, what about a Yisro helping out a Yid? Let's say Yid wasn't careful about tumah, and he's doing the wine in oifa tumah. So now the Yid is over in aveda because he is making tumah in Etzrol. So then, like Dorchin, you're not allowed to help him out. Because here why you're now it's already come anyway, because you're Messiah, now I'll do that. And like bites anymore, you're not allowed to cut for the same reason, because it's going to come to me, you're not allowed to generate 2 minutes or so. What you're allowed to do is obvious gas. You're allowed to bring empty barrels to the gas. Once it's all tummy ready and it's all finished, you're not doing any more asayid veda. You're allowed to bring empty barrels to the gas and mavin imoy minagas, and you're allowed to fill up with wine and take it back. Because what Aveda are you doing? Once it's tummy, it's tummy. The Aveda is that you're generating tummy. It's right tummy. So you didn't do anything else. And we're talking about the chavis themselves are tummy as well. The same thing is with a baker. Now, very interesting here because we have Nachtem all the time in Shas. We have Palter, and we always grew up translating the same thing. A Nachtem is a baker, and a Palter is a baker. Rashi tells us here a chiddush that a Nachtem and a Palter are not the same thing. A Nachtem is the one who prepares the dough to be baked. The palter is the one who puts it in the oven. Tosis totally disagrees with Rashi, and Tosis learns that a nachtem is the big bakery, like the big factory, and the palter is the little retailer who buys a little bit to sell. He's the end user. Very interesting. Fundamental argument with nachtem palter is, so on. Nachtum, it's the same thing. A Nachtum, if a Nachtum is doing with Tumah, like Loshin, like Archin, Ima, you're not allowed to know that. Why? Because you're generating Tumah. Now I'll do that. But once the bread is done, it's Tameh, you're allowed to bring it with you to the palka. So Rashi holds to bake it. Tosfos holds to the retailer. You got the end, be the freight truck. So the Chiddush says, Yayin, by wine, I don't think you have to wait till it reaches the bar to be treated like wine. The moment it starts pouring out there on the midrange where you're treading it, it's already considered wine, as far as Yayin Ness is concerned. So the Gemara, now when you go through the whole Mishnah, because it's clear from the Mishnah that it's not so. First, let's start from the beginning of the Mishnah. It says, Loikri gas bu'utra, you're allowed to buy a gas that's been treaded from a guy. Afa pisha not to be yodde v'nosel tepuach, and it's not a problem of yayin nesach. In other words, it's not wine yet because it didn't go into the buyer. Now Rabun adds, so it's another layer. When they did it in the midrange, especially in the beginning, they would put a block between the midrange and the barrel because they don't want anything to fall in. It'll be grapes and pieces and everything else. And so they they tread it on this midrange. Then they take out all the grapes and put it on top, and only the juice will come down, but there's still pieces. Then they put a filter, and then that filter, all you get is the main wine, a little bit, a few dregs here and there, and then dregs come to the surface. You take it out. It's a whole procedure. So it's talking about begas pekuka. You put a block there, a stopper, so that nothing goes into the bite, and that's why it's not off. You don't let it. The reason why I say it's yain nesach because eventually it'll go into the bite. But if you put a stopper there, there's no yain nesach. Says the Gemara, and umaleya. Another condition where Rashi learns it's full with grapes, so the wine that's coming out, oozing out of the grapes, is not going anywhere. It sits stuck between the grapes, and therefore there's no wine here at all. That's what we're talking about. But if there was no filter there, it would start falling in some of it, and then the wine will be traveling, the juice will be traveling, and I hold that's already wine. But here's pekuka umaleya. Where you squeeze it, that's where it's standing. Toshma, the next part of the Mishnah. They know it's yain nesach at your lebur. Klar, it's not yain nesach until it enters the boil. Achanami begas pekuka malay. We're talking about the gas is a stopper there, and it's full. Doesn't become yain nesach until you remove that stopper. Until it goes in the boil. Okay, Toshma. But the moment you remove the stopper, you don't have to wait till it goes into the boil to become yain nesach. Then it starts is pouring down or running down. It's very yain nesach. Next, Toshma yoded leboy. So clean the Mishnah. Mash beboy also masham mutter. Clear. Now the critical to you, once the boil, the stopper is removed, everything becomes the yain nesach. And he says clear only what's inside the boil. Now, this question was too strong. So I'm going to put in like kasha. Don't worry about all my answers I gave you. This Mishnah is talking about Mishnah L'Shaina. This is the original thinking of the Chachamim. And but I'm passing like the second version of the Chachamim after they reconsider what's going on here. The Tanya, but in the beginning, they said, Badat. Beis Dalid, we'll see in a minute what that is. That you're not allowed to do. And the last Dalid, you're allowed to do. Another Mishnah says, the Gemara says, Beis is Baitzin. Ain't Baitzin, you're not allowed to cut grapes. Why? Because you're generating 2 minutes to throw. So this first Mishnah holds you're not allowed to generate 2 minutes to throw. We're going to see the second Mishnah holds you Mefedish are allowed to generate 2 minutes to throw. No, Isser in Chulin. Okay, so basis you don't cut. Begas. So also legal to the Chulin Mitzvah, you're not allowed to go 2 minutes to throw. Next, Dalid, the Ein Dorchin, you're not allowed to squeeze. But with who? Only with a Yid. With a guy you're allowed to because it's tummy anyway. Messiah there, Reveda, it's not a problem. And getting paid for yain nesach is not a problem either because no yain nesach is no wine, it's juice. But the ein dorchin im Yisro, you're not allowed to squeeze it, but the Yisro you're not allowed to. Why not with the Yid? Because you're helping generate. You help misayei do aveda, even though it's tummy ready, but you're helping a guy who's doing an aveda. So oisa pay oisa betuma. So also say do aveda now help them. But the last dalad is, but dorchin you are permitted im aveda begas. You are permitted with a guy. Why? Because it's tamei anyway. It's not yain nesach, no problem getting paid, and you're not misayei do aveda. No problem. But when I worry about Abhunda, said, "Oh, it's very yain nesach." Then later on, the Chazal but they changed their mind. They like Abhunda that already has a din of yain nesach when you remove the stopper and it starts flowing down the midrash. So then we change it to dabad. What's dabad? The first one is ein dorchin ima oivig chavim begas. You're not allowed to even help a guy. Now, why not help a guy? because it's already yayin, and you're getting paid for something that's asabana. And the next one is beis is ein boitzin im yisro. With a guy, you're allowed to cut the grapes. Why? Because you're permitted to generate tumah in Eretz Yisrael, but not with the yid. Why not with the yid then? Because a yid has another problem. When he's goyim tumah by yid, he has to give truma and maasros. So you're not only doing chulin, not only you're making chulin tameh, you're also making a potential truma. And the way Rashi a little bit takes on the slip shot and Rashi is that truma already is truma before you have a chiv of truma on it. That potential of becoming truma is as if it's there. And when it says in your shmati, you have to guard my truma, is referring even to that stage when it's still growing. And because normally we say you're not chayiv truma till achim meruach, it's all set up and this. Here it's already aser. The ain boitzim is also the choshken is surely she'ain dorchin. You're not a tread. Aber boitzin by yid. Aber boitzin im ha'oiv you're allowed to. Begas. You know why? Shemuta ligam tumah l'chulam betzon. You're allowed to generate tumah only with a yid because there the problem is truma. But because it's ready to become truma, you're not allowed to be goyim tumah to something to truma. And even though it's mamash not truma yet, according to Rashi, it's like this potential is like this truma ready now. Thank you, Mark. Now to the end of the Masechta is all about yayin and stam yainov and so on. Certain laws of kashrus and so on.
Maybe,
have a good day. We'll continue tomorrow, Mitchum, 7:05.
Thank you. Maybe it's going to come up later, but how does this compare the fact
Sorry?
that maybe it'll come up later, but how does this compare with once grapes are dripping juice, you've got the laws of kashrus on them, whereas this sort of implies you're actually allowed to be squeezing them.
You're allowed to, there's no intention of turning into wine. Just sitting there, you're buying it as grapes. And the juice of grapes is all right. We're talking here.
So grape juice still has kashrus on it. Why is that?
Yeah. Grape juice already is a kind of a wine. We're talking about, what do you call it? Grape juice is a sort of, mach is a kind of a wine. We're talking about just juice oozing out of grapes. We have no intention of making a wine out of it or something.
Okay. So you're eating the grape that's a bit juicy, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So you have a good